We are back in downtown Port Orchard at Brick House 714 Bar and Grill. We really want to thank owner and manager Shelby for opening up her banquet area up here on the second floor, which definitely Port Orchard, it's great to have that here, and you should check it out at their website. And they've let us use it to film our interviews today, including with the three main guys that are involved in running Port Orchard FC in the front office. On the right, we have Sam Ironside. In the middle is Tyler Brown, and over on the left is Patrick Leonard. So they're going to talk with us today about a number of things. I'll be tossing out some questions. My name's David Falk, and I'm the club coordinator, so why not be behind the camera coordinating this video too for a while? So let's start over on the end with Pat. Pat, remind us of what it is you do for POFC.
Yeah, so this will be me coming back for my second year as head coach of the club. I think what the club's allowed me to do is really take, and they did it last year, I guess there's more of a label this year with the director of soccer label, but what they've allowed me to do from day one is really kind of implement my vision of what I want the soccer to look like, personnel-wise, coaching staff-wise. It allowed me to make those decisions to take this club on the field in the direction I want, and having the support from these guys and David behind the camera as well, behind the scenes, as well as all the volunteers that help out. But just taking this club on the field and making those decisions for the betterment of the club.
So it was brought up off camera just a couple minutes ago that about a year ago it was Patrick, myself, and Sam who met at the Fred Meyer Starbucks and talked about possibly forming a club.
Yeah.
So referred to the guy on the end there, Mr. Sam Ironside. And what do you remember about that time? And then also you can pass it over to Sam to talk about what he remembers too about founding the club last year.
Yeah, I would say I was familiar with David from back in the day with the Pumas and just the coverage he's done with goal law and local soccer in general. Sam, I had not had the chance to meet yet, so that was my first time meeting Sam, but we've been able to, it's been natural because we're both passionate about this project to just build a relationship that can work together for the betterment of the club. As we were kind of talking about earlier, our joint passion and sort of drive for this project was allowing us to build that relationship pretty quickly, right? And I think the work that these two have done behind the scenes has been so important for this club, but especially in that first interaction, we were deciding whether we were going to do the club last year and actually function for a season or go into 2024 and try then. I remember initially I was leaning toward 2024, and I think David and Sam kind of gave us the push to do it in 2023, and clearly it was the right decision, so yeah.
Yeah, and Sam, you were there at that meeting, and we should give a little background. You're a Chelsea supporter. Now, is that because you're a Londoner?
No, that's thanks to my family. All my family's from South London, there and thereabouts. So I started going to Chelsea games from the age of 4, and it kind of developed from there. And I've always loved football, my football, and it grew from being able to walk and still goes on to this day.
So you were in the position that for someone who's a British citizen, I don't know, it seemed like it would be a dream if you love sport to try to start something from scratch because of the massive history that goes back with so many hundreds of clubs. You're in the States, you have that opportunity.
Yeah, I've spoken to Pat numerous times about this. It's been like a lifelong dream for me. I've got friends now back home that are doing the same thing locally, so it's always been a dream. I've been that kid that played all the video games since I was 4 or 5 years old and created the kits, managed the team, so taking it to real life is an absolute dream for me.
What's different than from reality? You had this dream, we had our first year. It's kind of hard to fault our first year, but What was different than you thought it would be?
Hey, you're working with real money this time.
And you're not the, I don't mean to speak for you, but you're not the, we're not the, I feel like when you have those visions, you're the striker scoring the goal, right? So maybe it looks a little bit different for us.
It's a little bit further removed from the...
Yeah, I would just interject too that it wasn't my vision to be on my knees near midfield picking up jerseys, sweaty jerseys that are piled up, and you know, that also was not something that I had in my dreams of running a club. But you do what you have to do. So, what were the main highlights for you of last year?
I think just watching the team build, like it was an idea last January, and kind of how it developed so fast within 5-6 months, and then going an unbeaten season, coming out of it with a championship. You can't go wrong with that. I will say I don't think we did anything wrong last year. There's room for improvement, granted, but I think everything that could have gone right went right, and that it was beautiful.
Yeah, you know, we kind of, there were the three of us, and we thought, oh, maybe we can handle this. But then we started selling a lot of tickets, and just then someone contacted us and was interested in helping. His name was, I'm the guy in the middle. No, his name is Tyler Brown, and this year, of course, we've given him the general manager of public relations title simply because he does so much anyway that he just couldn't be called an assistant anymore. None of us liked that title last year, but we were busy. But now we've corrected it, and Tyler, you're here, and you walk into a situation like POFC. Tell us what that was like for you.
A whole new world. Very new for me, but like Sam said, I mean, it was something that I've always wanted to do too. I always wanted to be a part of a team like that, on the staff, behind the scenes, seeing all of what goes on, not just on the field. And there's a lot. I know that now.
Yeah,
and I'm still here.
Yeah, and you're doing some of it. You're in an interesting position, really, for this club because you were born in Port Orchard. You've lived here your whole life. You played soccer when you were younger. And now you're involved as the president of South Kitsap Youth Soccer Club, and you've recently been hired as the coach of the C team for South Kitsap High School, along with what you're doing with us. So you pretty much have youth, high school, and adult Port Orchard soccer covered.
Covered all your bases quickly.
Very quickly.
But Tyler, no pressure.
Yeah.
So how do you foresee that happen? How do you foresee that playing out for you this year?
That's a good question. I think we're gonna find out. I've got 3 different backpacks in my car for 3 different setups of ages and whatever. Basically, biggest thing overall is that I'm gonna try and figure out some ways that all 3 of those can work together. It's gonna take some work, but it'll be really good for Port Orchard in general, Port Orchard youth sports in general. So,
and I would
not even just Port Orchard. I'd extend that to most of Kitsap too.
I would say, I think us, Sam, David, and myself all saw it pretty quickly, but I think everybody kind of learned as the season went on, players and all, that Tyler has a real passion for not only like youth soccer, but youth soccer specific to this community and enhancing it. So, I mean, that's why he puts his hand in every pot possible to try to help selflessly, So, I think it's that sort of passion from both of these guys that is allowed this club and this team to be as successful as it has been so far.
Yeah. So Tyler, one of the things that you mentioned in passing to me at one point was that all those levels of Port Orchard soccer use the same field, South Kitsap High School's stadium.
At some point we do.
So yeah, so we certainly can build with knowing that we all play there, and then go from there. And also, I've noticed behind the scenes that you sent an email out, and you're going to try to get as many of those different groups together as soon as possible, maybe even in January here. So if and when that happens, we will do a follow-up with you to talk about what happened in that meeting about Port Orchard soccer. Yeah. So Sam, in your working with Tyler, how do you decide, and with Pat, how do you decide what you're going to take on versus what the other guys should do? How does that evolve?
I think what I've learned from last year is that we work really well together. So there's no specific jobs. I mean, if I need something done in person, Tyler's there. He's in Port Orchard straight away. If I need something done on the player side, Pat's there. Everyone's within a message. So I feel like whilst there's things that we are in charge of, I think we work really well together seamlessly. So if there's something where I'm slacking on, Tyler picks it up. If there's something where Pat's slacking on, I'd happily pick it up for them. So I mean, we work well as a team.
I thought it was kind of funny last year. I think it was funny is the right word, that you found your way to the stands. You just needed to watch the matches. Tyler was over, moving all over the place, doing different things. I was filming on the sidelines. Of course, Pat was at the bench. But you went up to the stands. So what is your level of interest in just seeing how the on-the-pitch thing comes together?
I think, as we've always said from the beginning, the fans are the most important part of the game. So if I can hear what they're saying in the crowd, if I can experience as a fan, then I can learn, I can improve from the business side as well. So, and I'm a lifelong fan as well. So just being able to get a viewpoint of the game is important for me as well. So.
And sometimes your wife and daughter came on to games.
That's being able to sit there with your family.
I had the family there, I had the friends there. So yeah, it was an experience for me as well.
Can we reassure fans that there will be a Bubble Day Part 2?
It was a big deal last year, so I cannot see why not. If we get the weather for it, then I'm sure they'll be up for it.
Yeah, bubbles and rain, but maybe we'll have to make sure it's in July just to be safe. But
and avoid Father's Day weekend because that didn't work last year.
No. Yeah, our only rainy day was on Father's Day. That was the smallest crowd, but still, it was really nice that so many dads were there. I mean, there's a lot we can take from it, even if it was our smallest crowd. Because really, it wasn't about that. It was kind of just about other stuff that day. It still was special.
I loved the promo that week of like how
that's
it was
great.
all the players, all the staff sharing like photos of them with their dads and everything. And I mean, you talk about having your wife and your daughter there. Like for me to have my dad in the crowd for games was a big moment for me. Something I was really proud of, to share those moments with him. I'm sure you can say the same thing about your family, but like my dad is a huge part of why my life has taken this direction. I wasn't really given a choice in my upbringing to love this game or to love Celtic or to be involved in the game the way I've become. It's just kind of happened, and this club's allowed that to take place. That Father's Day game was special for me. I don't know.
Here's a trick question, but maybe not. Has POFC ever made you cry? I mean, like real tears, and I'll start.
Yeah, maybe we should ask you first, right?
I'll start because it's caught on camera. I was fine after we won the title, and then I turned around and saw you go into the stands and hug your dad with the trophy. Lost it. Turn around, everyone's the Hawaiian friends of ours and Dom's people at the Dominators are all standing and making that tunnel. And I'm like, and then they waved me to go through, and by the time I was at the other side of the tunnel, I'd seen too much, and I was just like, because it was pretty amazing. But you can say no.
No, I mean,
you're tough.
No, it's not even that. It's just, I think that's a moment that I reflect on like later. That's just different people, different personalities. I reflect on that stuff kind of on my own. But in the moment, the pride I felt, I don't know. It's like as a kid, like when I watched Celtics score as a kid, that my first reaction was to hug my dad. And then we win this trophy, we win this championship, and I saw him in the stands. And once I'm celebrating with Mark and the players, and then I see him in the stands, and I have to run up and give him a hug. And it was just it was a proud moment for me, and it's one of my favorite moments in soccer in my life.
And Tyler, I don't know if it's tears, but man, that when Nick scored our first ever goal in team history, and it meant that a local guy who was an adult who had gone on out of youth soccer and wasn't someone that was in college, he was just doing it for the love of the game. When he got our first ever goal, I know it meant a lot to you because at the end of the season, you made sure that he got a jersey. So was that your moment, or?
Yeah, that was probably one of them. I mean, that was such a sense of relief that day that we'd all been waiting for that first goal to happen, and it came, and it was Nick's, and you can't write that story better.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's, like I said at the party, at the cup party, that every club only gets one first goal ever. So for that to be a hometown thing,
There's a big sigh of
Nailed it.
relief across the
oh yeah.
the group of us at that point, right? Like,
I don't even
okay,
know if I was celebrating.
we're
I think
here.
I was just
Yeah.
Yeah, we had been knocking on the door at the end of the preseason match
Yeah.
with Nito, hitting the curve and hit the post, and so, it was, and the crowd was just gasping with every
Mhm.
play. So that's kind of how that match ended, and then this one picked up
until
2
that,
weeks later.
The
yeah.
biggest event we had was Caleb's penalty stop.
Yeah.
Save, yeah.
That crowd pop was.
What a guy, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't want to take us off the path, but man.
We can always shout
I
out.
love Caleb
We
Tucker.
can always
What a
shout
guy.
out Caleb. We can always do it. How about for you, Sam?
I think it was bookends for me. Like the Nido game was a big deal for me because it was kind of ideas come to life. So seeing the crowd come out, seeing how community driven we were, especially that day, was a big deal. And then right at the back end was winning the league after our first season. So both were big moments for me. I'm a stone cold Englishman, so I don't think there was actual tears, but emotion wise, pride wise, those were my two biggest moments.
Yeah, tears of joy. In talking with a few players, you know what surprised me? How many of them give us positive feedback for their moment? Of course, lifting the trophy, but for many of them, it was that they were asked to sign autographs after the game.
Oh, that will never end.
No, and we will always ask them to do this, but that's when they realized they were doing something for people besides themselves.
Yeah.
And if they never become a pro, they still had a chance to be in that situation where they were doing something back for the fans that were there. And more than one player said to me, I can't believe that I'm signing autographs here in Port Orchard.
It's a pride that, like, we keep talking about how the community invests in this club with their presence and their support, but the pride that you get to feel on the playing side of it or on the coaching side of it, to have that sort of recognition and appreciation, like, it just shows you that you're doing something meaningful, right? And I think it's really cool that the players get to experience that in a local sense as well. You know what I mean? To do that in your own backyard, 10, 15 minutes down the road from where you may have played your youth soccer. Or on the same field, right? Possibly for some. So, cool. It's awesome.
Fun chat that we're having here at the Brick House. Hey, just one more topic I'd like to cover before we wrap up this episode. And that is something that we've already started preparing for in 2024, and that is our new kits. AKA, for people that don't use soccer terminology, uniforms. And shirts, AKA jerseys. So, hey, we have revealed two designs to the public. Both are receiving a lot of positive feedback. One, we already said, okay, well, we can't do better. This is just what we need. And that's our primary kit, which will have a light ornate wave pattern. It'll still be Marina Blue, and it'll have our new sponsor, the Brick House, on it. It'll also have a molded crest with a star that honors our accomplishments last year. But when it comes to those kits, what are you guys' feelings? Also, shout out to Levo.
Yeah.
Levo. Shout out to Brian at Levo.
Yeah. The absolute shout out to them. They've supported us right out of it, like, from day one. Just amazingly. Sorry to just jump in first, but the one thing I want to point out at the top, I love that we take it in a new direction, but I love there's parts of tradition that we can also see taking place, like that tree pattern that comes underneath the sleeve. I think that's almost a staple of what a POFC jersey has become. So to see that still remain in the home kit that way is really cool, while still having a new look. I love it.
Yeah. I think it's great that the way it went last year compared to this year is way better.
It's so much easier to have an idea, isn't it? I mean, we were in
It really
we were
is.
in a ballpark, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
And a lot of that's Brian and his designers on their
Yeah,
end
100%.
sending us ideas, and this year nailed it.
Yeah.
Way less conversation, way less. I mean, they knew what to go for and killed it.
Yeah, and our internal conversation with Brian and Levo was, okay, that's great, go for it. And him going, no, but what needs to be?
Yeah,
No, but seriously,
something's
guys,
wrong,
and we're
right?
like, mm-mm.
Well,
That's great.
they sent us a few different ideas and
Yeah.
concepts, right? And
Yeah.
I think even in the other concepts we didn't go with, you could see that like they're actively trying to implement what they think this club represents and what we try to implement within our community to be a representation through the kit. And I think they've absolutely nailed it.
Again, credit to Brian, because it is amazing customer service. The fact that you can talk to him at any time of day and just throw ideas at him and him throw ideas back, and him actually take those ideas and run with them and send them to the right people. It's a credit to him because he's pulling out some great stuff, and the jerseys look great because of it.
Yeah, for our listeners and watchers, Levo is based out of Langley, Washington. So Brian is up there, and he's heavily into futsal too. He runs a futsal league that crosses over into British Columbia and Washington. That's that indoor soccer without boards, with a slightly smaller futsal ball that is really popular. And so he is someone we wanted to partner with as a fellow Washingtonian, and definitely it's been such a really great partnership because he's so attentive to us, and contacts both us and our fans when they order in minutes after they've done
It's just
things.
great that it's local, right?
Yeah, and that's what we want as much as we
all
can,
about,
as much as we can do. But Levo did issue us a secondary kit, which I keep looking at and wanting to just out and out love. But guess what? I posted that secondary kit, which is dark gray and has a very light pattern of Douglas fir trees on it, which we're using in our promos this year. I posted it, and the fans do love it.
Yeah.
So I think they've maybe made the decision for us. But Sam can give us maybe a scoop about a possible third option, because you had this idea, Sam.
So a couple of months ago, we talked about potential training kits, and in my lunch break at work, was trying to design ideas, and one of the ones that came up was utilizing the sunset from one of the murals on the waterfront, and running with an orange, because we had so many issues last year with kit clashes, and every team in the CPL
We had a division
had a
of all
blue shirt or a
Everyone was
black shirt. So
yeah.
it was an idea to kind of deviate from those base colors that everyone has. So I'm curious and excited to see what Levo comes up with, and there'll be more ideas out there. So be
Yeah,
open.
so-
Making 2025 green and white hoops is the push on that.
It is not going to happen. But,
Keep trying.
I mean, so hopefully Levo will come up with some dynamite Marina Sunset Port Orchard look, and then we can take that to the fans and say, well, yeah, and we know you guys like that dark gray, which we do too. Now consider this.
Yeah.
Because as we were saying before we recorded today, we can't have an endless number of kits. We are not Barca or
University of Oregon.
we're not funded by Nike, so we cannot, here's our kit of the week. So at some point we'll have to make a decision. We definitely, of course, are going to do the Marina Blues. It's just tradition. We wore it for our championship game, and it's just what we do. But now for the secondary kits, the fans have approved, if we want to go for it, the dark gray. And that's certainly in the running, and then we'll see what else comes along before probably February, when we have to make a decision so that they're all, the production goes in and they get here in time for the season. What else do we want to say about kits and dressing the club?
I love that the fans have an input on it. I love that we're incorporating fan input. I know, again, I don't mean to keep talking about Celtic, but I know many of seasons where a kit gets released and I hate it. And I eventually learned to love it because it represents something I love, but don't love it in concept. I'm sure you've seen terrible Chelsea jerseys in your time. So I think having fan input right out of the gate before we even release a kit is really important. I love it. I mean, that sums up what this club does, right? Like, it stays close to the supporters with everything.
Okay, in closing, let's just hear a very brief summary of what you're going to do next for POFC. What's in your head? What are you thinking about? Oh, I want to accomplish this, and we'll start with Sam.
I will speak out to sponsors. If you want to get involved in this club, please reach out to me. We've seen the majority of people that were involved last year come back, so get involved if you like what you see. We can only get better because of you. So if you want to be a part, then reach out.
Sam at gopofc.com. I'll put it up on the screen with this video. Tyler, what's up next for you in POFC?
That's a good question. A lot of networking. We're gonna figure out how to build up some youth and connect everybody.
When does C-Team soccer start for you?
Tryouts end of February.
Okay.
February 26th.
Yep.
And for the guy who is always doing soccer, and when does CK start for you?
February
Several kids have
26th
surgery.
is the WIA
Okay.
sort of spring season start. So there will be some, I'm sure he'll do the same with South, but there will be some preseason stuff coming up in the next few weeks, but the official tryouts sort of kick off to the season's February 26th.
For CK.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
everyone.
Okay. And in terms of Port Orchard, POFC,
So my next steps would be, me and Mark Novak, who was the assistant coach last year, will be coming back, and we've already been working on, what we can do to improve and build on our success. So Sam Gomez, as much as we miss him, he lives in Utah now. So there is changes within the coaching staff that'll take place as well, some additions. Also, player personnel, we're starting to reach out to, players we want to see them returning. I know there's loads of options and kids going to school and maybe their college coach is impacting where they go. So really getting a feel for who's in the picture to come back and taking those pieces and building around it, and then doing what we did all last season, continue to recruit. I think we'll be scheduling a tryout. Not the tryout will be soon, but we'll start scheduling that soon as well, and having that plan to see if we can get some surprises in tryouts and some new players coming our way through that sort of avenue, and then just continue to build the roster. Got a fun season ahead.
yeah. Speaking of fun, I thought this was fun. Getting together and talking
Yeah.
about POFC and just having a camera kind of run while we chatted back and forth with each other.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's a rare occurrence for us to be able to all four of us get together. And it's the first time since July 30th.
I was going to say, it's good to
when we
get
won.
back into it, right?
Yeah.
It's a good first
So